And there's Miss Wicker.
Yay.
Oh, finally.
Okay. Thank you all. And let me just go through real quick and we'll call the meeting to order. Roll call and introductions by the participant list. If you all will just acknowledge that you're here. Mrs. Dameron.
Here.
Ms. Wicker.
Here.
Mr. Dick.
Here.
Miss Jeanette.
Here.
Now that's people's moving around. Mr. Shear. Can you hear me, Nick?
Yes. Do you hear me?
Thank you. Mr. Onion, I know he's
Here.
Miss Reader.
Here.
And Miss Tammy.
I'm here.
And Dr. Bartrug.
Here.
Miss Reader, I already called you, I think. And Miss Popwell is participating, getting some hours in. And Miss Ryan.
Here.
And I'm here too. Thank you.
Did I miss anybody?
Me.
Oh, Miss Renee.
The one that causes so much
We
trouble.
all know you're here. You've taken everybody's attention.
Sorry.
I'm just playing. Okay, and we sent the agenda out, and it's called to order, roll call, and introduction of committee members. And again, you all have all been approved by the Russell County Board of Education. And so the agenda consists of the call to order, the introduction of the meeting, adoption of the agenda. Mrs. Dameron is going to review the applicable KRSs related to this, and specifically the school calendar committee, the school calendar adoption procedures, the variable student instructional year, and other requirements. We'll discuss the 2021, this is hard to say, and 2022 calendar planning options. Any public comments, and I've asked folks to email that to me or put that on chat, and then adjourn the meeting. Oh, I've got to pause the YouTube thing here, sorry. Okay. Can I have an adoption of the agenda, please?
I make a motion, we adopt the agenda.
I'll second.
Who's second?
That was Jeanette Marson.
Thank you, Jeanette. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? That will probably be easier. Okay, Ms. Dameron, I have this pulled up. I don't know how well people can see it on the screen, but the calendar planning options, and I'll pull up anything else that you want or need me to. Before I hand it off to you, I do want to tell everybody I appreciate your time. I know everybody lives a busy life, and I heard somebody made a really good comment there before we got started, and our students go through this every day, and certainly they can appreciate technology glitches and the occasional delay just as each of us can, but we do certainly appreciate your time, your willingness to give us your time. And we always, it's important to us. I know it's important to Ms. Wicker, and I know it's important to our board as a whole, that this is not just lip service. Anybody that's participated in calendar committees with us in the past, or any committee or take survey, we absolutely listen to everybody. We make the decisions accordingly. And we want you all to know that. Please stop, give your input. Hope you've talked to your colleagues, your peers, or people have said, "Hey, I know you're on the committee this year, and this is the idea I had." Everything's on the table, and we welcome all that. Everything's on the table within the realms of what's allowed by the statute and the regulations. I might add that. So, Ms. Dameron, at this time, I'll turn it over to you.
Sure. Okay. And I'll just throw in too that Russell County was doing this calendar committee thing. Ms. Dalton and Mr. Ford were doing this before I came on the scene 6 years ago. And so, or before it was even law, and now it's law. So actually we were already ahead of the game. So, okay. I sent you 3 documents. I sent you the document that's on your screen, which is the calendar planning, which will be very important to us in just a minute. I sent you a blank calendar, basically grid that has the weekdays scheduled for that what would be the applicable months that we're talking about. And then I also sent you an 8-page document. Can't see that really, but an 8-page document that is the actual KRS, which is the law basically that governs the school calendar. And what it says in there is, first of all, we have to have a school calendar committee, that a school year, which basically when we're talking about a school year, we're not just talking about the instructional days for the students. We're basically, I like to think of it as like what the teacher contract is, 185 days. That's what comprises our school year. It has to be 185 days. We have to have a minimum of 170 instructional days, and those instructional days have to be equated to 1,062 hours. So when he's talking about the variable school calendar that's mentioned in this law, and I put it on your planning sheet as well, and it's on the screen. If we were to choose a variable instructional calendar, which is the calendar where you start school no earlier than the Monday closest to August 26th, then that 170 instructional days would be waived and we would only have to do the 1,062 hours. But if we start school earlier than that, then we have to go both 170 days and the 1,062 hours. So that's what our days for instruction are based on. Back up at the top, you'll see that 2 of those 185 days are opening and closing. There are 4 holidays. We only get to pick one holiday because Labor Day is required by law. Veterans Day is, Martin Luther King Jr. Day is required by law. And our school board has voted to now make it a local school board requirement. It's in our policy now that Veterans Day is going to be one of our holidays. So this year we only need to pick one additional holiday. I will throw out there that's a paid holiday. That does not mean that we can't have another day off. We can take a day off anytime you want to put a day off in the calendar, but it's just that. It's just a day off. But we do have to designate one additional paid holiday.
So a great example, we have that discussion every year is like, for instance, Thanksgiving. We were off school last Thursday for Thanksgiving. That was not a paid holiday.
Correct.
We received compensation unless they actually worked that day for working that particular day. Central office was closed and all those things like that, but nobody was working, but nobody got paid either.
Correct. Now, under that, it says 4 professional development days, and it talks about PD and planning days. That's just if we build them into the calendar. Otherwise, we can do them on the front end or the back end of that. And then down at the bottom, it has the additional notes, which are things that people just usually want to know. For example, the 127 yard sale is August 5th through the 8th, which affects Russell Springs Elementary, the middle school, and the high school greatly with traffic. And we've tried to avoid having school during those days. That's not set in stone. That's just we try to avoid it. Election day, this is the 1 year in the 4-year cycle that there will be no general election in the fall. So we don't have to worry about a day in November, but we will be back on the 4th year. So if we were to go past May 16th, we'll need to take into consideration that May 17th, we will have to be out of school only because our schools are used as polling places.
Okay.
And then I just put in here November 24th, and this is just a consideration. In the past, every survey we have done in recent history, at least the 6 years I've been on board, people are adamant about wanting the Wednesday before Thanksgiving off. That's very popular. But again, that's not set in stone. That's just something I want to inform you of. You might want to know that Christmas is on Saturday, December the 25th this year. And then New Year's Day is going to be Did I do that right? Did I do that right? Friday, January 1st?
No, it's a Saturday.
It is a Saturday.
7 days after Christmas.
Right.
Oh, I know what I did. I know what that's supposed to say. That is supposed to say, I looked up the federal holiday for when the banks will be closed. And they're going to be closed that Friday. That's going to be their observance, which would be the 31st. Okay. So that's why. So I'm sorry, you can change that to Saturday there. And then President's Day is Monday the 15th. And then the only other consideration I put in here is just because it does come up every year. Some people like to know when football gets a break because that affects cheerleaders, that affects band, that affects a lot of people. It affects our whole athletic department. And there is no game on Friday, October 8th. So when we're thinking about fall break, that's just a consideration that there is no game Friday, October the 8th. Okay. Now,
Talk about the Adair County and ATC.
they have not given me typically, yes, we have in the past tried to stick with, tried to go with Adair County as well. We've tried to stay close to them because of the fact that, they share the ATC. So we try to take fall break the same week. They have not given me any dates yet.
Okay.
So, I do not know I do not know what Adair County's thoughts are yet on fall break.
Due to the lack of a better term, the craziness of things this year, the board, my recommendation, the board did revise our calendar this year, and we are actually practicing under the variable and student instructional year, and we're only going by the hours and not the days. And that was for obvious reasons with everything going on. We delayed the start of school year and invoked that.
So then just to kind of jump in and get going, the best place to always start is just if you have your calendar grid in front of you and you want to mark it, if you want to go ahead and mark Labor Day as a holiday, Veterans Day as a holiday, and Martin Luther King Jr. Day as a holiday, those three are set in stone. And then from there, we can work out any which direction you want to go. We can address opening and closing first, or we can address the fourth holiday and fall break first and spring break. We can jump in wherever you want after that.
I have never been a proponent of the variable student instructional school until this year because I've never been in favor of our students having less instructional days. I will put that out there. Our school district has had for a number of years the 170 student instructional days, which is the minimum number of days. Some school districts do have a few more, but no one has less than that unless they are going by the variable student instructional year. That's just been always my take on that. And certainly going forward, I think next year, I want to cross my fingers and hope that we're returning back to a normal school year. And we'll need every day and every minute with our students for a variety of reasons, nonetheless, certainly for instructional, emotional health, and otherwise. So it would be my desire and wish that we would not entertain the variable student instructional year. But I need to say this at first, I'm just a bystander and taking notes on this. I am not a voting member on the calendar committee. By law, I cannot do that. So you all can do that if you want to.
I've
I have a
got one.
quick question. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Brooke.
On the variable school calendar, just a question. If we choose to do the variable school calendar where we have the possibility of the hours instead of the days, could we still go the 170 days? Like, is that something that we can still entertain? What dates that would give us in the spring/summer?
Okay, so it would, okay, so yes, it wouldn't be called it wouldn't
No.
necessarily fall under that requirement, but yes, we could go as far into the summer as we wanted.
So if we say we were to start, that would be the August 23rd, right? Or would it be the August 30th?
Okay, let's see. Monday
It's the Monday
closest to August
Closest to
20th.
August 26th.
So, so the next Monday would be the 30th.
Yeah.
So
it's kind of right in the middle, so I didn't know.
Yeah, I don't know, and that's a great question, Dr. Bartrug. I don't know that of ever going backwards. Do you, Mrs. Damerons? I think the intent of that was to always move forward closest to the August 26th. I don't think that it goes backwards, so I think it probably would be the 30th.
Well, because if it was the 23rd, I just wondered if the 170 days still had us out in May. If something were to happen next year, we would already have met the requirements for the variable if we needed to make adjustments.
I just had one question. Periodically in the past, we've had, and I know I'm asking about 2022, the swimming meet in February.
Mhm.
That's caused we had to make a change to the calendar that wasn't planned. So I just was curious if we knew anything about that.
Yeah, that's a great point, Mr. Onion. We are scheduled to host that this year in February. And so that usually rotates with us and another district hosts that. So we should not have to host that in 2022.
Brooke, I was going back in here to look and see if it in the statute it actually makes it any more clear, and it doesn't.
No, because it just says Monday closest.
August 26th. So if that's the case, the 23rd is one day closer than the 30th, correct?
We're gonna do that.
No. If you take into the weekend?
Oh, if you look at the weekend, it is. I think if we could, if that's what we choose to do and we start the 23rd, then we've got 2 weeks in before Labor Day. If not, we have 1 week and then it's Labor Day.
Yeah.
Right.
And I wasn't saying that
Never
we
heard
start that
discussed,
late.
Dr. Bartrug. That's just a really good question. Direction.
I was just, with how crazy everything's been, I just wondered if there was a way for us to be able to fall under both calendars without having to make adjustments in a panic if something else came on, or, you know, we ended up with another 14 inches of snow and used in, you know, if there was a way that we could qualify for
But
both.
the only issue with that, though, is I'm just thinking out loud, is if we develop that on that premise, then our days would likely be longer in case something did happen, then we could invoke that. Am I thinking of that correct, Ms. Dameron? Because
Okay, so the way our days are right now, yes, without lengthening the school day, if we did less than 170 instructional days, we would have to do a minimum of 166. It would take 166 days based on what the minutes that we get to 1062.
oh, good. Yeah.
So without lengthening the school day, it would only shorten us by 4 days.
It's a great thing to explore, in my opinion. It would just be the time and everything to make it work out.
Well, on the holidays, that might be an easier thing to start with. I would like to recommend that we use our other holiday for President's Day, because I think that when we honor Labor Day and we have Veterans Day and we have Martin Luther King Jr. Day, to me, of course, I'm a U.S. history teacher, the next appropriate day would be our President's Day.
And I've given you all a wrong date again. I'm sitting here looking at my dates going, did I not revise this? I've given you Monday, February 15th, and this says Monday, February 4th. This is, oh, and I bet it's not the 14th. I bet it's the 21st. So let me look that up.
It's the 21st.
I bet it should be the
President's
21st.
Day.
So I apologize for that. I must have put in 2021 again, because I can't believe we're there.
Yes.
So if we did that, then it would not be the 15th. It would be the 21st.
Meeting.
kind of agree with Brooke for the reasons that she said, but also teachers kind of expect that day, and February and March are long if we don't have any snow. So it's kind of nice to get that day off in February, just to kind of break up a day or a week.
Mhm.
Can we also take the Wednesday before Thanksgiving? Just without, as a,
Mhm.
we'll have to make it up, of course, but I know I appreciated that when I was teaching
Yes.
because I had Thanksgiving at my house. Well, that sounds good to me. That-
So if you went ahead and marked out on November the 24th, the 20, and you could just X those out, 25th and 26th. I mean, we can always go back and put it back in, but definitely we're going to be out the 25th and 26th anyway. So we went ahead and X'd out the 24th by now. That's those 3 days that we would not be in school in November. Plus, obviously, holiday, November 11th. Do you all have any thoughts on fall break? I mean, are you?
Mr. Onion, Mr. Dick, and we certainly want to hear from, with the parent hat on too. Not that other school employees aren't parents, but we certainly value everybody's input.
Yes.
Well, nowadays, parents are school teachers too.
Oh, watch it now there, Mr.
Have you
Onion.
noticed that?
No, I'm not criticizing the school teachers at all.
I know.
And it's not me, by the way. It's somebody in the family who knows what they're doing. But I wanted to also look the Christmas days. I'm all for President's Day. I'm not a history teacher, but I read a lot of history. And I just think it's an important day to recognize our presidents also. But I was trying to look at the calendar as far as Christmas, and I would presume, talking about school days, the 20th to the 31st of December would be the 2 weeks we'd have off. That makes sense. I mean, as I just look at it.
I think that makes it very clean for everyone.
Right.
We do.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah, we had a couple of years where it was really messy and it fell in the middle of the week, and there wasn't a whole lot we could do about it. And that got a little crazy. So we were really glad that it cycled back. So it would be nice if that was if we could do it 2 full weeks there.
I agree.
So do I.
I think for the most part, families have come to expect that too and plan around that.
Yeah.
Which if we did that, then that takes care of New Year's, because that 31st is going
Right.
to, they would observe it. So we don't, it's just a day off that takes care of that anyway. And we'd come back to school on
the
January 3rd. Mhm. Which sometimes we do as a teacher planning day, but we can talk about that later if we can get some of the other big things out of the way.
Although, thinking about that, that's going to be a pertinent to our calendar because, we're going back after the literacy grant. And if we get that, it's just going to help everybody if some of those days are back in the middle of the calendar.
Mhm.
I see Renee shaking her head as well. It just affords better opportunity for planning for teachers and implementation of things. To do.
Yes.
And I think if we do add those as a teacher standpoint, those are always good right after a break, not necessarily the Christmas break since it's nice and pretty. But if we would look at things like President's Day or Martin Luther King Jr. Day, it would be good to do those the day after because the kids are already out and it's not like you're creating another break for them or another. I know we like our 3-day weekends, but that does make it harder on the students. They're a little bit more hyper on 4-day weeks and 3-day weeks than they are on 4 weeks.
What if we did, we had this discussion and I did with some of the curriculum folks the other day, Dr. Bartrug, and it seems like as far as from our perspective on teacher participation and just their thoughts on it. We were going back and forth of whether or not to have them on that Friday before school was out, or if it was a long, or the Monday when you come back and those types of things. So you're saying to have them like the President's Day on the Monday or whatever, and then have the teacher work day on the Tuesday, or to do it on the Friday?
Me personally, I would rather it the Tuesday. I can see where a lot of teachers would want it on the Friday to have the Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. But for me, I would have a full week with my students beforehand. It would still be a 4-day weekend, and I would only have one shortened week with the students,
True.
Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. But that's just me. I definitely see where people would want it the other way. Either way, I think that's better than making 2 3-day weekends to just try to do it on 4.
Sure.
Well, I agree with the logic. My question is, both of these cases turn into 4-day weekends, which are great. But do we want to have both of them one after another, January and then February?
No, we've not picked the instructional planning days.
I know, but we've talked about it, I thought. Wasn't that what we were just talking about?
Yeah, but we're not saying that we would put one in January and one in February.
No, that was just Brooke's suggestion, and I don't have a part of it, but I was looking at trying to find another month that it could work, and I can't see one.
Oh, I didn't mean to use both those months. I just was an either or, that
okay.
January or that February.
Yeah.
Okay.
We could, I know before we have used one.
Well, in that case, I would vote for February.
Well, I agree with that because we've just been off in January unless they need to meet with the teachers sooner with it being the beginning of a semester. That's where it depends on, like, if we're doing something new with the literacy grant and they need to start a new initiative at the beginning of the semester, then they may need to meet with us earlier.
Now, one of the contingencies with that literacy grant is that we wanted to make certain that it would not, if we got another grant and got to continue, that we would not be putting something brand new on teachers again. And we wanted the proposals to include that it would be an extension of what the teachers have already been trained for, so they would not have a new total thing on their shoulders again. Yeah. So the proposals are going to include extensions of what we've already went through.
Talking about instructional days, a day that we might want to look at, and you all may be completely against this, I don't know, but where Veterans Day is now on a Thursday for next school year, and that's on the 11th. I don't know if we would want to think about using the 12th, or if that's too close to the big Thanksgiving break that we wouldn't want to do that. I'm just thinking about bringing kids back for a Friday only.
Yeah.
That would be the day, though, that we would do our Veterans Day program, most likely.
That's what I was thinking.
And it's, not a wasted day, but that would be a day that we wouldn't really have instruction. So, coming back for that one day, I think would be okay because we're not really losing instruction. It's more of the program on that day.
That's true. Now the middle school, and I don't think in the high school, we don't do a program all day long. So we'll still have instruction on that day, but I think that is a great idea. I wasn't thinking about doing it then. I was just assuming on the Wednesday before Veterans Day.
I think it's easier just to do it on that 12th and then have 3 days of uninterrupted instruction. That's just my thinking. Coming back on the 12th and doing the Veterans Day programs.
Mr. Ford, you brought up fall break. And Miss Cindy, can you remind me what we decided last year about fall break? Did we decide to shorten it?
We did not decide to shorten it. We did a full week, but we went back to, we had been doing the way, and again, it's partly because of the way the calendar worked out, the days, but it started to fall down in the second week. And then last year, the high school asked us if we would move it back to the first week again because of their schedule of football, which is again affected football players, band, and cheerleaders, as well as some of the other people that work concession stands. And so that's what we had done. We'd moved it back to coincide with having fall break on a week when they do not have a game scheduled, so they can take off as well.
That's a good idea. Now I see why you put no game on October 8th. So
Yes. Now, again, that's not set in stone, but that's just something that's a consideration they ask us to think about.
Yes,
So I
used to we had it in the second week, didn't we?
Yes,
Several
it
years.
kind of moved down that direction. Yes.
Mhm.
well, I'm okay with the first week of October. I don't know what
Okay.
teachers and you all think, but
I'm good with that first full week in October. Just because it will accommodate several different people to do that.
Okay.
I agree.
Yeah.
So we're going to go with that?
And anybody have a problem with that week? Mr. Sherry, you jump in here anytime you want to because you wear a parent hat too. So
I've been instructed to just go whatever Miss Renee says.
answer. Good answer.
Is Miss
Good
Jamie,
that next year.
Nick, is Jamie controlling your mic and your,
I'm just very nervous. I'm just very nervous right now.
well, we appreciate you being here.
Yes.
But I do agree with Miss Renee. I would go with the February the 22nd. It does seem like it give a better break for everyone and the students.
Okay. If we were going to do a PD day, do it there, a planning day.
Yes.
Okay, so looking ahead, let's jump to spring break and then we can go back and start figuring days and where we could stick stuff in and think about an opening and a start. If we look at spring break, traditionally we have done it the first full week. Now I will tell you, we used to follow the KEA, and when they did their delegate convention, there are no dates posted for that yet. For the next school, for the 2022 school year yet. And typically that has been that first week. We got away from that though, Mr. Ford, didn't we? Because we were okay. We seemed okay last year when we didn't do it coincided.
We said that we would make provisions for those that would want to attend.
Okay.
Dr. Bartrug may want to chime in here, but it's not been an issue for our district as to my knowledge at any point. And
Okay, so there are dates. It is the 6th, 7th, and 8th of April.
Mhm.
I just had to turn in our delegates yesterday. So, but it is the 6th, 7th, and 8th of April. We will have 3 going. We're allowed to send 2. And then I do not count as one of those because I'm also a district officer now. And so the district will send me, not the local. So we'll have 3 that will have subs and have disruption for those days. But as far as I know, that's all. It will also very possibly be a virtual or a hybrid of virtual and in-person. I doubt that they're going to bring everybody in, so that may also relieve some of that.
Now, is that for
but
this
we're talking,
or the next?
2022.
Yeah, sorry. I'm pulling a Miss Cindy Dameron there. I'm wrong here.
It's hard to believe that we're looking at 2022.
But,
It is, yes.
Dr. Bartrug, that would have worked perfect because that would have been Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So I thought you was
Well,
Me too.
I knew it was the Wednesday, Thursday, Friday in the first one in April. So I was looking at my 21-22 calendar, so that's why my dates were right. But it will probably be the 6th, 7th, and 8th,
Okay.
because they usually do the first week in April.
But you think we'll be okay either way, Dr. Bartrug?
Yes, because we won't send more than 3 people. And I doubt that we have many more that ask to go as visitors. And
Okay. So then,
unless something crazy happens with the pension and stuff, but I think that we won't have that many.
okay. Well, Easter is not until the 17th. Sometimes people ask that when they're looking at weeks. It is not until the 17th.
I think that would be too late to
I think
have the spring break.
I think so too, because March is a long month, a really long month. So then are you all thinking the first week, the 4th through the 8th?
That's what I'm
I'm
looking
good
at.
with that.
Good.
Yeah, I like that date.
You all are very traditional people. That's okay. We do get used to
Creatures of habit.
yes, we get used to certain things. Yes. Okay. Then that takes us, let's see. Okay. So then we've got our 4 holidays. We have fall break and spring break. We've taken care of New Year's Day and Christmas. Okay. So now we can look at like opening, closing, if you want to stick PD days in, and that may depend on when we open and when we close and how many days gets in where, in what portion of the year.
Miss Cindy, is March too late to take a PD day? I know that's a really long month for the students. Is that too late for a PD day that month?
It is not, depending on what the principals and the curriculum team need at that point. You all want to chime in on that?
We've not seen the rollout, and of course, we're just thinking, regardless of whether or not we're successful in getting this new grant again, there was just things that we missed not having that time throughout the year for the instructional planning days. I don't disagree with that, Ms. Tammy, that March, and that's certainly been a time period that we have utilized before on instructional planning days.
It's because it seems like it never ends.
My first year teaching, Bernice Bunch told me that March is a very long month, and I've never forgotten it, Ms. Wicker.
It is. You get off in February, 2 or 3 different days, and then all of a sudden nothing in March unless there's a snow day.
Another option is if we did take that 22nd off in February, right after President's Day, then we'd have 5 weeks still, but with us choosing spring break as the first week of April, that does help cut it down, because a lot of times it's not just March that's long. It's, you've got a week or 2 in February, all of March, and then a week in April before you ever hit spring break. And right now we're looking at it's be 5 weeks. But if we were to give like a 4-day weekend at the end of February, that might help alleviate some of that too.
Well, I don't think you have room for, you're talking about the 4-day weekend with the President's Day. Right, Brooke?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, March is the only month we don't have a day off, if that matters.
I think that'd be a good month to add planning day.
Is there a place you all would like it, or?
Well, the week of the 14th is the middle week, kind of,
Right.
just to throw that out.
That would kind of break it up a little bit, because we would have President's Day off. And then if we went like 2 weeks, like maybe the 14th and get that day off. And then we have 2 weeks till spring break. So it kind of gives a 1 day of
Have a long week.
breaking it up a little bit. Yeah.
Mhm.
Or we could do a Friday. I'm good with either.
Miss Renee, do you all do stuff for St. Patrick's Day?
No, nothing.
I just thought if elementary did stuff for St. Patrick's Day, if you all had any little, parties or kind of a fun day
No.
there, the 18th would have been a good one to take off
Yeah.
for
And
a little bit of a.
Yeah. No, we don't. It's just
They just encourage kids not to wear green and go around pinching.
exactly.
That's kind of went by the wayside, though.
We
Well,
could,
there's still a few.
So we're
Good
going with the 18th.
Yeah.
We could do the 18th. Yeah, I'm good with it that Friday.
I'm just
So for
curious,
the 18th, I like the 18th.
The 18th is good.
I'm just curious, does any of the teachers take off for SEC tournament? If so, that would probably be the 13th or the 11th. I don't know if any teachers took off for that or not, though, but that's just something to.
Well, that starts on a Wednesday. The SEC tournament does.
And I think we're going to do it as a PD or planning day. So it would be actually a contract day for them.
Oh, so they would
Anyway,
be there.
so they,
I'd say the
The only way
18th.
they would not be there
Teachers would
would
have to
be,
come.
yeah, they would have to come, or unless they were sick, and if it was PD day, they'd still have to make that day up. And
So I would say the 18th.
I'm good with the 18th.
The 18th is good.
Is it going to be a planning?
Not sure, but honestly, we can get with as far as us
Yeah.
picking days, I can get with,
that's,
we can fix that before we take it to the board, whether it's PD or
Yeah.
planning. For
Okay.
us, it's going to count the same.
Okay,
We just get our 170 instructional days planned.
gotcha.
Mhm.
Do we know if there is Mr. Ford, have you heard if there's going to be any testing that's going to happen at the end of the year? Because this is why I'm asking that. If we are going to have testing at the end of the year, I know that we'd like to have a day in the fall so that we can do data analysis.
no, I mean, that's still up in the air, and nothing's been definitively decided. It's all they talked about it today during our superintendent webcast, just briefly mentioned it. I fully expect now, not getting into politics, but with the change of administration, I think the ESSA requirements at the federal level, we'll have a new Secretary of Education that will be pushed down differently and viewed differently. And during all this, I don't, if we did do anything, I think that it will only be for our own uses and it will not be part of accountability or anything. But just the whole idea of the consistency of getting students to take it, I fully look for that to be either totally eliminated or not eliminated, but waived or just reduced down extremely, unless, we're just miraculously everything's gone and we're back as much as what we want to.
Now, are you talking
this
about,
year-
I would not put that as part of the consideration.
are you talking about the 2022 spring?
Dr. Bartrett's probably talking about testing this spring of 21 and then
Yeah.
analyze the data in fall of 22.
Mhm.
In that, Dr. Bartrett? Okay.
Yes.
Miss Cindy, we mentioned just briefly the 127 yard sale.
Mhm.
So that would be the Thursday, the 5th and the 6th of August. Should we go ahead and mark those off? Because hopefully it'll be a larger crowd than it was this year. I'm always hoping. But
Yes, and Miss Jeanette, I think while you have the mic, I would love to hear from you because we can start kicking around more PD planning, break days, those kind of things. But I'd love to hear from you just right off the bat. What is your wish for opening day? And then we can work from there.
After the
Oh my
first
gosh.
frost.
We can bat it
He
around.
wants us to start after the first frost.
after the first frost, well, yeah.
We love Miss Jeanette. She has our best interest county at heart.
I try. Well, in a normal world, which we do not live in a normal world, I would always like to say the closest to that August 26th. However, it is so not normal that it's whatever is the best interest of the kids at this point. I mean, for tourism, usually, we don't like people to go back too early, but so whatever is the best for the kids. I mean, you can make all these plans and then it's all thrown out and we're at, hopefully not virtual school forever. So anyway.
I know, Jeanette, I mean, that was one good thing out of the pandemic was that a lot of our kids got to continue working and jobs.
It was, it was fantastic. They did get a lot. We had, it's good to be Russell County. People love coming to big, wide open spaces and small populated areas. So that's been fantastic. But I am good with however it works out, so.
Do you have some things, do you have some weekend dates of August, some big things going on there after the yard sale?
Well, not really.
Last year we talked about the raft.
Yeah, and
Run.
they usually in the past, well, not now this year, it was the 127 yard sale that first weekend, and then it was the world's largest raft up the second weekend. That'll be a one year only that works out. I'm hoping that I would like to see that on 2 different weekends, but that does not affect traffic. The raft up, they're all at the lake at that end, and that raft up won't affect traffic. However, they always like to have workers for that raft up, which would be, it was like a Friday, something like that. But I don't know. Anyway, so that whatever the closest, however it works out, the latest as possible, although I think the parents want kids to go back now and have year-round school.
We'd like to have them back now, that's for certain.
Yes.
I have a question for the teachers. If my memory, which is questionable nowadays, serves, we normally start the school in the middle of the week, the first, whatever. Does that work best for the teachers because to me, it seems like as a student, okay, I go to school for a couple of days and don't do much and come back Monday.
It is good for the teachers. It's a whole full week to begin with is hard. So, we've started like on Wednesdays or Thursday before Wednesdays. We've started Wednesdays before. I don't think we've ever started on a Thursday. But being able to get those 3 days in just to kind of get to know the kids, make sure we've got buses schedules correctly, and it just makes it easier. And then we're ready to hit the ground running on that Monday following that Wednesday that we start. So if we could start in the middle of the week, from my standpoint, I think it's better.
Well, I have no objection. I was just curious. I figured it was some part of getting settled.
Yeah.
Starting
Miss Marcy, Miss Reader, do either one of you all want to chime in?
I'm muted on that one. I'm going to agree with Renee on that. We really appreciate being able to start on a Wednesday and having those 3 days with the students to get to know them. And that gives us a little time even over the weekend to organize paperwork and, look at things we might need to change. If we don't have something on a child, it gives us time to get all of that before that Monday when we all get back in. So yeah, I know that most of the teachers that I work with really like that option.
I agree with Marcy. I think it's just best. It just helps kind of break everybody in, teachers, students, all faculty and staff, just kind of get us back into the routine of the everyday things that we have to do, and getting all the paperwork and stuff in those first 3 days, and then starting on a Monday, hitting the ground running. I think it works out best to start on a Wednesday too.
I agree. And not only does it work best to get to know them in that, but most teachers have gotten used to that. And so we have already planned opening day things that revolve around a shortened week like that. So I think that's just how most of the teachers would feel.
The 18th is a Wednesday in August, and it's after both the 127 sale and the World's Largest Raft Up, or the 25th, or however it works out.
Well, I kind of like the 18th. That's
I
just
do too.
my opinion.
Miss Jeanette, I'm so glad to hear you say the 18th, because I was hoping that might be late enough for you that we could compromise. Because you may remember, some of you that have been on here for a while, it would be, in a perfect world, we would have 85 days before Christmas, 85 days after Christmas. That's not possible. However, the high school told us a few years ago, when we moved toward the middle of the month and took off, because we used to start really early, that they could live with a variation of about 10 days. So I've been doing the math. Right now, if we started on the 18th, that's still 78 days in the fall semester, which would only be 7 less than the halfway. And another thing is, they will tell you that, or anybody will tell you, fall teaching days are much better than spring, because you kind of get in the flow. And in the spring, there's so many interruptions with testing and all of those things, and snow days. So 78 days would be really good. And if we needed to throw in a PD or planning day in the fall somewhere else, I still think we'd be okay at 76 or 77 days.
Well, I definitely recommend we don't go any earlier than that. And I'm usually not one that cares either way, but just based on what they're saying about vaccines and stuff being available to the normal population, they're talking about some not till April to June for those. And if that's the case, then once people start getting vaccinated, they're going to want to be able to take their vacations that they've not been able to take forever. So I think that the 18th is a good day. I like the 18th or the 25th. I'm right there with
Yay!
I like the 18th. I think that'd be a good starting point.
I like the 18th.
I'm in favor of the 18th as well.
I like the 18th.
I'm fine with it, but when I went to school, we always started the first Tuesday after Labor Day.
Are there any other days in the fall we need to look at for PD or planning, you all think, built in?
Not unless we do, if we do that data analysis day after fall break, which,
Well,
knows?
the data analysis day, we'll certainly need the map, our local data.
Yes,
Yeah,
map.
we're going to have students, and we've got to get a really good pinpoint of where they're at. And although there's a really good article out from the company that does map right now, that reading skills have stayed stable and math has been as bad as what they expected. But nonetheless, so I do think we need a day, Mrs. Dameron, in the fall after the school has had time, to complete their benchmarking, because we need that data and the opportunity for teachers to plan instructionally around that data after that. So, Ms. Renee, you think about the timeline of when you all start benchmarking and the weeks it takes to complete that, that's really going to put us about around our typical fall.
Because we would probably start benchmarking probably around the 13th of September, and it takes about 3 weeks for us to get ours completed. A good 2 weeks running.
Ideally, though, as not to disrupt something else in October, if we could do it around that fall break, either that Monday when we return, if we could start benchmarking earlier, I would rather that than to mess, and that would give the kids, they've been off a week, and maybe they could have a 4-day week that next week and bring teachers in the 12th. That's just me thinking out. No,
You mean bring teachers in the 11th?
Yeah, I'm looking at the wrong. I pulled a Cindy Dameron. That's our new thing now.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Hey, if that's the worst thing I ever do,
You're good.
You're in good shape.
You're good.
Yes. On the 11th. And that would
Well, I'm good with
Renee, do you think
I'm-
the teachers, I mean, do you think everybody could get the benchmarking pulled off by then? I do.
I think so.
Yeah, me too.
I just got off the phone with Mr. Ackerman. I called to check with him because I didn't know what the middle school was going to be planning. But if I heard right while I was trying to listen to both conversations, or if we're thinking about the 11th, bringing the teachers in after fall break, he said that would work because we usually get our data back in September from our first round of map testing. So he said the 11th would work for the middle school.
Okay.
Parents, does that work out for you all coming back? I mean, just going ahead and just throwing it in and making it 6 days off?
Sounds
Fine
good.
by me.
Okay. So if we did that, that gives us 77 days in the fall, which means we need to now see where we're at in the spring. Let's see, 170 days minus. So we need 93 days in the spring. So
We kind of touched base on it as far as Easter. Do we get off? Does the kids get off on Good Friday, or do they go to school on Good Friday?
We have taken off in the past. For the past several years, we have went on Good Friday.
How many days did you say we needed in the spring? Oh, you're counting. I'm sorry.
93.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
That would put us out on the 20th if I counted right.
Oh, Miss Renee, you are way faster than me.
Well, I'm not good in math, so I may have counted wrong. I may have missed a day or two.
Let's see.
I can't count them.
Oh, I keep forgetting the first in April. So there's really, so right now we've got
It's
16
24.
instructional days in April, don't we?
Does that put us at May 24th? Because we'd have to skip May 17th, right, for the election.
Yes, we have to skip.
Oh, we would be off that day, wouldn't we?
Counts.
Okay, how did I come up with the 25th?
You counted the day after spring break, Ms. Dameron?
Taking off that day?
Yeah.
Oh, no, I didn't actually. So then there would just be 15 instructional days in April.
Isn't that the day we said?
I thought that was the day after
Oh,
fall.
we had that in March. We had that day in March for the spring.
Yeah, we put that in March.
Yeah.
Okay, so no, so come back on the 11th? Okay.
Yeah.
What did we say about January? Were we going to just come back on the 3rd and do a full week, or was that a planning day?
Well, let's think about we've had the data analysis in the fall, in October. So from there, the next thing go around, the biggest thing would maybe be something related to the literacy grant, but I can't speak to that right now because we don't know whether or not we'll be successful in getting that again. It'd be one of those, we could put it there, or maybe we could put it somewhere else.
We'll have the winter map benchmarking, won't we? We do that in December.
I keep coming up right now with May 26th. Did you all say you got something different
24th.
for 93 days?
Let me double count.
Okay, so 5, 10,
20 in January,
20 in January.
20 in February.
I'm only getting 18 in February. What did I do wrong?
18
And I
is
got
what I have.
19.
Are we just doing the 21st off in January?
And
And the 22nd,
Oh,
22nd.
why the
PD.
20? I missed that one. Why the 22nd?
Planning day, wasn't it?
as
Oh,
a,
did we decide to do that?
Oh, I thought we was going to March the 18th.
Oh,
Yeah, I
okay.
thought we had just discussed it.
I
We
did
didn't-
too.
okay. I'm okay. So you're saying the March 18th would replace the one in February?
That's what I
Yeah,
thought.
that's what I
may
thought.
I may
I agree.
misunderstood.
Okay, so that's good. So that would make 19 days. Okay, so 19 days in February. So then how many in March you got?
That's 20 days in
22.
February.
You take off the holiday? Yes.
5, 10, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. That's 19 days in February.
Okay.
I'm
That's
sorry.
what we
No,
said.
it's fine.
And then
26 in March, isn't it?
I got 22.
I got 22.
I also 22.
I got 22.
10, 15,
16 in April.
18.
I got 16.
Yeah, 22. I couldn't count.
So 16 in April because we're not taking off the 11th. So that's 77 minus 93. So we need 16 days. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. That is the 24th then. Yes, that would be the 24th because we wouldn't have, yeah. Is that what everybody came up with?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
24th, okay. Now that would work. That would work fine. That also gives us room. Anytime we're getting out on a Tuesday, that gives us room, number one, for snow days, which thank goodness for NTI days. We don't typically have to make them up now. But then also that gives us room if you feel like we need to put a planning day somewhere else, like in January or somewhere, we would have that room.
Let me throw
How many
out before
PD and planning
we
days have
have, I don't know how long it's been that we've not done a calendar that we did not solicit input via some type of survey with the community and certainly our parents and guardians and all of our employees and students too, as far as that goes.
Mhm.
Having said that, I would hate to do that. I would hate not to have some overarching, at least some input. And it may be in some years past, we've actually done a draft shell of what you all, the committee, has put together and said, and just kind of left it open-ended. How do you all feel about, this calendar being presented right here? Here it is. This is kind of what we've came up with, instead of asking particular, do you want fall break this week or do you want fall break that week? Because you're always going to have those different opinions. But I just want to say that I really think it's valuable that we do present something to get some input back, and then we could meet back again before we put the stamp, or how many times we need to meet back again before we bring it to the board for approval or first reading in December, at December school board meeting.
I really like that idea of presenting whatever we end up with. And then, yeah, because you'll get so many different ideas the other way.
Right.
Just kind of leave it like, here's the draft calendar, and just kind of leave it open-ended and give us your thoughts. That type of thing, Ms. Jeanette?
Yes, yes, that's what I would like to see. Just because too many cooks the other way. And then it also gives people, the chance to say, their thoughts also. So you get a good view of what people are thinking.
Other thoughts on that? Ms. Dameron, have you thought about the survey?
I had not. Oh, no, yes, it's come to my mind as we've been doing it and thinking that we were getting so far into it. But I do kind of like that. I'm kind of liking this getting out on a Tuesday because I'm looking at this 3 days it gives us, and God forbid COVID still be a thing. Wow, if we had to chop off the first 3 days because of COVID, that gives us time to play with without putting us past Labor Day. I mean, past
Memorial.
Memorial Day.
Memorial.
Yes. I think, no, I think that would be good. That would give, and it would give, if we come back together too, it'd give us a chance to talk to the people that are writing the grant and see, and just kind of get a little more input from them to see if our PD days mesh with what they were thinking built in.
Well, our school board meeting is the 21st, and ideally we would present that to the school board meeting. It's not for approval. It has to be specifically advertised that it's for a calendar and ask for public input, et cetera, at that 21st meeting. And then subsequent, we would ask for approval at the January school board meeting. We would need a little bit of time, obviously, to get a survey out and to get some input. So we would probably, I could, Ms. Dameron worked her magic on getting the shell calendar put together, get that out tomorrow or Thursday, and send out a lot of emails and on social media, solicit input, and then we could meet back, sometime the week of the 14th, maybe.
I'm good with that.
I'm good with that.
And we're not bound by presenting it to the board in December. We can meet as many times as you all feel like we're necessary. It's been important. People like a calendar early because somebody mentioned vacations. A lot of parents have to request and plan things way in advance.
I think on the survey, we definitely need to have, I know we've said input in that, but if we're just going to give them the draft, like this is what we did, do you like it or not? I feel like a lot of people are thrown off from that. Parents, I'm a parent and as a teacher, because you feel like, well, they've already done it. This is what they want. And we don't get as much input. And I feel like if there were some multiple choice options for them, even if it was for future considerations, I just feel like you get more input back. And it works with my students too. If I say, well, this is it, do you like it or not? It's a whole different responses than when it seems like I'm really wanting their opinion.
True, and I can understand that and appreciate that. And I can see it both ways. On the other flip side of that is the committee has been charged with drafting the calendar. And so, presenting it as a draft calendar, here's the input. It's not been solidified. Sometimes I think it's very beneficial for people to actually look at it and then they can make comments, surrounding it as well. And we could give that certainly a big, large comment box, and I'll do whatever y'all want to. We could have an option that says, yeah, it looks good as it is. And then we could have an option, that says, just offer feedback on it. And then you all could make adjustments if it was something overreaching on, wanted to change a planning day or Christmas Day or whatever, that we could maybe look at it again. But we've done it both ways. It just, to me, it seems like we're so far into this and picking it. In the times past, and this has been a great meeting today, but in times past, we've kind of like paused and not made a decision and then brought that up, and then we would come back and finish the calendar after we got input on the survey.
Well, could you go ahead, just, provide for comment, the days that we're looking at, starting date, ending date, fall break, spring break, and days off. And that shows them, that's kind of saying we haven't finalized it, but these are key dates everything's going to be built around.
Yeah, like if you're making the survey and you have the draft, like I'm okay saying this is the draft, this is what the committee has come up with, but then maybe include a question that's multiple choice, because I think sometimes people are more comfortable answering those, that says something like, I would like an earlier start date or a later start date, and maybe even word the question for future calendars, but that way we have the data. Or, I would prefer the second week of April for spring break. I would prefer the first week of April, limiting their choices. So you're not just having,
Free for all.
100 different responses that are written out. Plus the data is easy to look at whenever it's a multiple choice like that on a survey. But I just feel like that gives people more options. Would they like to be out by a certain time? And
I like the idea of giving the draft and then, maybe the questions and let them multiple choice or whatever. And
What questions are you all thinking about that we would specifically ask them?
One, you could ask, do you want the Wednesday off before Thanksgiving? I mean, I think we kind of know what the input would be, but I think it's important that we let the community also have that say and reinforce the idea that we think. So that could be.
Maybe also you could ask about President's Day, or I worry about asking, do you want to start earlier? Because I fear every parent will say yes.
right.
Tomorrow.
And then there will be.
Sorry. Sorry. That's just, oh my gosh.
You could ask, do you want to start later?
Oh, perfect. But we won't. But yeah.
The only thing about asking to start later, you just have to qualify. Make sure you qualify in that, which means we get out later, so that they know that as well. Because a lot of times what we get is the same person will click, they want to start earlier, but they want to get out early, or they want to start later, but they want to get out earlier. It's like, you can't have it both ways.
True.
Right. And if we go much later, we'll go into our normal fair, since the fair now is the beginning of June and not
we
in
don't want
July
to go
like
into
it was.
June.
Like it was many moons ago.
We don't want to go
we
into
don't.
My personal opinion is my personal opinion is that we submit the calendar, and we're using data. We're using data from past, and I think we ought to use that, push it forward. If people have comments, they can make them. If they don't, then we're good.
I think it's good that we've taken into account a lot, Mr. Ford, as you've said. Some people have said we like to get out that first week of October for fall break when there's no games, and the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. So a lot of it has been taken into account of past years. I like that. Hopefully people will like that as well.
And if we tell them, this is just a draft, there could be changes. And kind of like what Nick said, this is it. If you have comments, make comments. And if not, because there will be comments. There will be people that will make comments. And we know that we can't, we're not going to please everybody. So,
we don't pay for that option, but there's an option in SurveyMonkey to where it will pick up keywords in your open text box and summarize based upon those keywords. So you don't have to do so much data segregation, because as Dr. Barker noted, open comment boxes are much more, a little more difficult to disaggregate than multiple choice and things like that. Although in the past, Mrs. Dameron has went through and read through them in the sense of tally marks. Yes, she did. I remember that very well. I will do the survey however you all want. I just think it's important that we provide some opportunity for input from the parents and guardians, employees, and community.
And maybe another day to survey would be Good Friday. How parents feel about Good Friday.
You could word it where it'd say, do you have any comments or concerns? That way you're really not asking for a total opinion, but are they concerned about one or two of the dates maybe?
I just feel like if we only ask for comments or concerns, or we just, do you like it or do you not like it? Like, I am daily teaching kids, 165, as I already mentioned at the beginning of this. And if you want public opinion, you need to word the questions where you're trying to get public opinion, not where you're trying to avoid too many people giving you their thoughts. That's our job. I don't mind reading through however
That's
many.
certainly not my intent, Dr. Barker, not to get people's input. I hope I didn't make that thought come across.
No.
Oh, okay.
No, but I'm not afraid of having the people's opinions and thoughts and using that to make the calendar. And I feel like a lot of our parents would feel much more comfortable with multiple choice questions. And I think the questions that were brought up were about the day before Thanksgiving. Someone brought up Good Friday. I think that's a great question to ask. Would you want Good Friday off? Would you, and Ms. Dameron, I think that would also be added that may change or may not change the end date. I think that's good to put with those questions so that they completely understand what they're looking at.
Yeah, that would probably need to go in parentheses. If we took off Good Friday, then we would extend that week of the last day in May by the equivalent day.
And I think that's what I was getting at is if we do questions, which I'm not opposed to doing questions, it just make it very specific. Like, for example, if we go with the Good Friday question, again, what he just said about either saying that would extend the school year by one day, or we would not get out to the 25th or whatever, however we want to word that.
Right.
And you could do the same with the start. Like if you're going to question a survey for the starting date as the 18th or the 25th, and you could put the end date in there as well, so that people realize if we don't start till the 25th, and that means you're going to get out a week later than normal. But that also gives options to make people's opinions feel valued as well.
And I think they really do like that question. I think they like knowing that they have an opinion on the start date and end date. I really do. I think they're probably going to go with the 18th, but I think that makes them feel valued and makes their opinion feel heard.
Well, my question is, if we use the 18th or 25th, if they choose 25th, now you've got a really unbalanced first semester and second
That's
semester.
what I was going to say. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it would be a better question. Do you want the 18th or the 11th? I don't think, based on what we've done here, as I understand it, doing it later the teachers are the one that has to fight this problem, but
I agree. We should ask, if we're going to ask that question, it should be the 11th or the 18th. Because if we say the 18th or the 25th, they're going to choose the 25th.
I agree.
I'm good with that question as well.
Okay, are we at a consensus then to ask the start date of the 11th or the 18th with the understanding, the little blurb that will extend, those days have to be made up somewhere else, the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, and then Good Friday, and then, note also that day that will be extended with the equivalents to make up that day. Are you, having asked those questions and any other ones you all still want, do you still want to put up the draft? I just really think parents like to look at, employees like to look at, what does this look like, instead of just throwing the dates out, show it to me. What does this look at is what you all have worked at. So I would kind of like to, going back to what I said earlier, go ahead and have the draft calendar up there. We could ask these questions, and we could also have one that says it looks good, leave it as it is.
Well, could we do that as one multiple choice question with a comment box? Could we say, I like the draft calendar as is?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I prefer to go to school on, but I mean, in literally one question, not 4 different questions. That be your 4 answers.
You mean all of these other scenarios be tied to one?
Just literally the 4 boxes be, I like the draft calendar as is. I prefer to start on the 11th versus the 18th, then get out, blah, blah, blah. I prefer to go to school on Wednesday, the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. I prefer to be out on Good Friday, and just let them.
So are you saying in reality, ask 2 questions?
No, I'm thinking one question and let them choose one of those.
Or
I like that, Cindy. I like that.
And then if the comment box.
No, okay, so is
You all use-
for Thanksgiving, Good Friday and all that, is that going to be individual questions, or are you wanting that tied in as together?
I'm saying 4 bubbles, and you choose 4 bubbles. That's just
So
a thought to make it. I'm just thinking simplistic.
You're trying to say they can only choose one of those options, or?
No, I don't.
I mean, I guess they could choose more than one, but
Okay, I mean, I think we've got to let them look at it.
Mr. Ford, I don't know if you'd be willing to use Google Forms instead of SurveyMonkey, but on Google Forms, which I've become quite familiar with, I believe that you can set up your form in 2 sections, and the first section could have the draft, and they could answer if they like the draft or not. If they say yes, they're done. It's submitted. If they say no, they go to a new section, and then that section then proposes other questions.
Yeah, you can do that on Google, and you can do that on SurveyMonkey too.
I definitely like that where if they say, yes, I like it,
they're done.
They're done. Yeah. And then those that don't, to go on to the next. Yeah.
And I think we'll get a lot of, yes, I like it. I'm looking at the calendar, and I think that we've took a pretty traditional approach, and we've followed the patterns that we've used in the past. And parents like that. They appreciate that, to have spring break, fall break in a time where they know that it's going to be. So,
and I think we have a great calendar too. I think it looks really good.
For planning purposes, they like some continuity from year to year to year.
Yes.
Yeah. I think you're right. I think you're right. Okay, so I can put the calendar part together tomorrow. Could you all just, maybe Mr. Ford, are you thinking maybe you will send out your part on Thursday? So if I were to send this out to you guys tomorrow, just to do a once over to make sure that I've not put it together wrong, could you all maybe reply back to me by sometime tomorrow afternoon?
Yes.
And let me know that, yes, that's what we said. Just make sure.
I'll try in my busy schedule.
Okay.
And yes, Ms. Dameron, to answer your question, I've got several things tomorrow, but Thursday, we could definitely, after you get a blessing on that draft calendar, I could put the survey together and start getting that out.
Okay. Yeah. So then probably even by early Thursday morning, if you guys could just say, yes, this is what we did discuss. You haven't come up with something out of 2024 or something. You're in the right year.
And then how long do you all want this survey to run? In my experience, keeping the survey open for days on end doesn't help responses. You're either going to do your survey and then, maybe a reminder. And then after that, you've either done it or you haven't, and you're not going to go back to it. Our bulk of our responses come in consistently every year within the first few days. So there's no need of keeping it, weeks on end or anything. So having said that, obviously through the weekend, but do you all want to meet later part of next week, or the week of the 14th would be fine as well, and you all can discuss that and let us know.
Sounds good to me.
And I'll send it. In the past, I've always sent the calendar committee the information as it starts coming in, and then I'll update it and send it to you all, so you're not having to sit at the meeting and start reviewing all the information. Ms. Dameron, did you have an idea in mind as when to meet again?
I did not. If Tuesday is a good day for everyone, maybe 2 weeks from today would be best. But if Tuesday is a bad day, we can pick another day.
I'm good with that.
Yep. I'm fine with that.
Tuesday the 15th? The 15th? Is that what?
Is this time okay with everybody?
It'll work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, work for.
Yes.
It should. I'll make
good with your
my husband do
scheduling,
that.
doesn't Mr. Onion? Mr. Onion, that date works okay with your schedule?
Yes.
No, okay.
Yes, it does.
So when everybody was good at 3 o'clock?
I'm good.
Yes, I'm good.
And if we have pleased the people, it should be a very short meeting.
Yeah.
Please the masses. Okay.
I do want to add, on that same day, the 15th, Senator Max Wise has his town hall meeting, and I'm always lobbying for those NTI days, just because my closest to the 26th always rides on that. So anyway.
And that's going to be at the ANC as part of the chamber meeting that day. So President Nick Shear may want to talk about that as well.
I will definitely talk about it.
Is it going to be at 11:30 or noon, Nick?
It's going to be 11:30.
Okay.
And then Max will be there at 12.
Okay. Jeanette, talking about the NTI days, some of us regional superintendents met with Max last week in Campbellsville, socially distanced and masked. And we brought that up, and my take on that was I would hope that moving forward, the legislature would give a lot of leeway. Right now, it's, emergency waiver and it's unlimited days. Prior to that, it's been 10. But with the implementation of Google Classroom and how our teachers have done so well with it and our students are getting hold of it, that I would hope that even districts would have even more than 10. Because that, the expectation, I think, traditional NTI day of students sitting home and doing a packet of work is, out the window for the most part. So I would hope that districts, my intent with Senator Wise was that districts have a lot more flexibility with NTI moving forward as compared to what it's looked like in the past. That was the other superintendents as well.
Well, I was going to ask if in the future we'll use Google Classroom and, get away from the paper products.
Yes, that's our absolute intent, Mr. Onion.
And Mr. Ford, you will be there at that meeting on the 15th with
I will.
Max Wise? Oh, good. He had worried me some time back. There were other superintendents that were not on top of things like you are, and it was causing Senator Wise to not look at NTI days favorably at that time. But hopefully he's changed his mind.
Everything seemed fine the other day, but we were just a give and take kind of conversation, which he's good. I appreciate him. He typically always tries to do that before the session begins. So, of course, this is going to be a short session, just a 30-day, and they've got to pass the budget. So,
All hearts clear?
She is the wife of a minister. That's coming.
Did you think I was getting ready to close in prayer?
I really wouldn't be a bad thing.
We probably should have opened in prayer.
I was going to open up this agenda to make sure I've not left anything off here. I've not received any emails for public comments, and I asked people to do that. And let me turn on the YouTube thing here just to look at it real quick, just to make sure there's nothing in the chat for people. So. Okay, well, don't see anything, so I don't have anything public comments.
See you in 2 weeks.
Okay, is that a motion to adjourn?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll make a second.
Okay, all in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Aye.
Thank you all.
Thank you all. Appreciate your time.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.